Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Dranitsaris with today's episode of Relationship Live featuring the ISTP. That's the introverted thinking with extroverted sensing, otherwise known in the striving styles world as the intellectual. We're hosting Relationship Empowerment Month through the month of February this year, bringing you insights and tips for all of the 16 personality types and the 8 striving styles. As you'll see by tuning into each and every episode for the 16 types, you'll find out exactly what each of them needs in relationships and in romance, and what needs to happen to truly satisfy the emotional needs of your partner should you happen to be in relationship with one of them. You'll find out how they bond and some of the behaviors that they use when they're codependent or self-protective. Best of all, you'll have the benefit of understanding why you behave the way you do in relationships, because, of course, you are included in one of the 16 personality types, and you have your own emotional needs that must be met in relationship for you to behave authentically and feel emotionally secure with your partner. So let's talk about the ISTP personality type. Not frequently found in leadership roles in organizations because they don't have that natural desire to work with people, lead people, be at the head of things. They are, because they introvert their thinking function, they are of the two personality types that have their own inner system of governance, meaning that they march to the beat of their own drum. And unlike the the INTP counterpart to the ISTP, the ISTP is in the moment. They are extroverted sensing. They move on impulse. And so they have this deep desire that they're driven by for liberation, independence, and a chance to move to action to show their expertise, usually in a mechanical or artisan type of way. Their insatiable curiosity and longing for new experience, it's like an intense hunger in them that never quite seems to be satisfied. And it's almost like they're on a perpetual quest to explore and understand the inner workings of things like machinery and systems and computers, and what is at the heart of how things move together. These resilient, unwavering souls, they possess an uncanny ability to stay composed and focused even in the most pressured situations. It's like they don't take it on. They don't take it on because they, like other extroverted sensors, they are in perpetual movement. And if they can't solve the problem, they'll jerry rig it in some way, or they'll move on from it. They cherish their self-reliance and how they can rely on themselves to get through any situation. And their competence and their need to be experts in that more physical realm, it really burns deeply inside of them. The desire. Sorry about that. Thought that was off. That desire that these people have to really, really become experts, and they can lose themselves into the exploration and the becoming expert at anything that they're doing. These people tend to be a bit of a daredevil in their approach to things as well. And even though in their social life they can be reserved and introverted, in their physical life they hold this type of boldness and desire to experience everything. They value their privacy and solitude as a result of their introversion, And so it can be quite challenging to be in a relationship with them because you feel as though you're always a little bit removed from these people and where they exactly stand and are emotionally. So let's start with a few more things to understand about an ISTP. That in a relationship, it can be really exciting, but on the other hand, it can be challenging. They're independent and self sufficient, and they have a high need for personal space, like most introverts do. But they all also, in addition to that need for personal space, they need to be able to exercise their authority to make decisions for what they do in any moment, because they're driven by that internal desire to or quest to have an experience or to do whatever is in their mind they think they should. Very practical and logical. Of course, they make decisions using their introverted thinking function. And so the feeling function can be somewhat elusive to them, and they're not as connected to their emotions, and therefore they have difficulty with emotional expression. But they tend to express their emotions physically. And when they do show attention or affection to their partners, it can be deeply meaningful and heartfelt. So might sometimes feel to their partners like they're in a bit of a drought, and then all of a sudden, the water comes out, and the emotions of the ISTP come out, and it's like, oh, that's so lovely and beautiful, and then they go away again, and you're thirsty again for more connection with them. These people tend to approach relationships and emotions as though they're problems to solve because of their ability to and their strength in problem solving, which of course that can be a little frustrating for those people who simply want their partner to express empathy towards them. They're not one for games or for any sort of teasing or play. They're very direct people. And so they can have difficulty with anyone who might be either overly emotional or somewhat manipulative or passive aggressive in their approach. ISTPs prefer straightforward, honest communication. And this is really important to their partners to be able to be open and direct in expressing their feelings without necessarily blaming the ISTP for not empathizing and not knowing without being told what the partner needs. So, in a relationship, they do tend to be attentive and observant. They notice details that others might miss, but they might not necessarily say anything about it. They let their actions speak louder than words, such as, they notice their partner is struggling with something, and, when their partner comes home from work, that appliance has been fixed, or a solution was bought at the, Home Depot on the way home to fix whatever it was that was broken or frustrating. And so they tend to respond without saying anything. They really enjoy spending quality time with their partners, but I can't say this enough. They really need their alone time to recharge and pursue their own interests. They need ample breathing room in their relationships, and they absolutely, absolutely abhor, loathe the feeling of being controlled or limited by societal expectations or norms. Try and get them to conform, white picket fence in the suburbs, they will blow that idea up in a nanosecond because they prefer to govern themselves. These are people that have their own internal self-governing structure. And when they have to conform, they become very, very anxious. I recall this was years ago working for in the mining industry with a leader who was an ISTP, and he was struggling greatly because his expertise was actually in geology, and because of his intellect and his intelligence, they moved him into a managerial leadership role, which he was, like a fish out of water. He couldn't plan. He didn't know how to talk to his people. He didn't know what to say to his people. And so you see that these things that don't come as natural and you take away that ability to be spontaneous or to do things under one's own steam, and it creates a lot of anxiety when these people are expected to conform. And if they have a partner who needs that, who needs more structure and stability and predictability, their behavior, the behavior of the ISTP, can make their partner feel like they've got really little power or authority within the relationship. So this freedom that they need, this autonomy to pursue their passions unencumbered, it's like they're Sherpas if they have to carry expectations, but unencumbered by the expectations of others, is what they crave. And if they feel trapped or suffocated by a relationship, they'll quickly become defensive and shut down, come closed off, uncommunicative, and they might be physically present, but not paying attention to a word that you say. They have very little patience for people trying to tell them what to do or how to live their life, and can be incredibly stubborn and self-protective when feeling threatened. And if unresolved anger or tension exists in their relationship, because they don't know how to resolve it in a tangible way, in that problem-solving way, they'll simply avoid it, avoid their partner, even if it means spending time alone or not coming home. So this is just a bit of a flavor about the ISTP and their personality. There's so many other things I can tell you about the intellectual striving style. This person who is driven by a need to be knowledgeable, to be the expert in the arena that they reside in. And if you want to know more about this personality type, check it out at Now Fix Your Relationship, and you'll find all kinds of information on the ISTP personality, their career, their work style, the employee style, the leadership style, the relationship style. We have reports on all of the different elements of the life of the ISTP personality, as well as for the other 15 personality types. But this workshop is for anyone who is struggling with an ISTP in a relationship, or if you are an ISTP struggling to understand why your partner's reacting to you or why you behave the way you do, and along with some tips on what a partner can do about it and the insight that the ISTP can glean for themselves. So I'm going to be talking now about how these people bond. And of course, because they have a style that demands distance, they have a tendency, especially when they haven't matured in the bonding process, in the development process, they have an avoidant way of attaching, which allows them to meet that need to be separate, but stay in a relationship. And so their physical intimacy is what causes them to connect with their partners. And it can be very challenging for partners who need more of that emotional connection. So they can be very physical, they can be very tactile and affectionate and touching, as I said earlier, but their emotional distancing can cause their partner to feel quite alone. So ISTPs also in relationships, they really struggle to put feelings into words. And so as I said, they do things. They show their love in action. That is their love language. But when they're confronted by someone, by a partner who's angry or upset at them, they'll find it difficult to understand where the other person's coming from, why they're feeling the way they are. And this can actually, while they might not express it, but you see it through their withdrawing behavior, they can get scared or overwhelmed because they don't know here's all of this energy coming at them, and they don't know where to put it or how to take it in or how to respond to it. And because they're not great at recognizing their own emotions, it's almost impossible for them to empathize, because if you don't know what you're feeling, it's certainly hard for you to imagine what somebody else might be feeling. And so these people can be quite dismissive of the emotions of their partners, especially when they're trying to create some distance from the emotional upheaval that they're feeling, and the emotions that their partner may be presenting to them. They often need personal space to pursue their interests and goals, and they may become frustrated and resentful if their partner tries to interrupt them. It's like they go into this world of where just them and whatever they're working on exists, and that if their partner interrupts, they have to bring themselves out. They have to come out and take this journey outward into the outer world, which is really irritating and annoying to them. And while they value their independence, they still want to be in a relationship and maintain sense of self within the relationship. They are afraid that if they're too vulnerable, then they will be swallowed up into the sea of conformity that some partners expect from in relationships. Some personality types, that's the way they bond. So this brings us to the first relationship challenge the partner is going to have. If you can, sort of get a sense of what that might be, given their need for time alone, and their need to be spontaneous, is they can fail to prioritize the relationship. And ISTPs really struggle to think about things in terms of, if I keep doing this for 2 more hours after I've already been at it for 10 hours, well, my partner is going to be upset with me. But they don't have that awareness, that other awareness that's needed. They tend to be very logical and analytical, and the landscape of a romantic relationship is a bit beyond them. And so what they'll do is they'll overlook even thinking about how my partner or my children or my friends might feel if I don't show up, or if I don't um, conform to the idea or the agreement that my partner and I have made about how much time that we're going to be spending together. They're more driven, especially when they've gone inside themselves. They're driven by this desire for new experiences and some excitement, and so they don't plan and they don't make these long-term commitments, and are really reluctant to say yes unless pushed to say yes. And they'll prioritize their immediate desire over their relationship, leading them to engage in risky, impulsive behavior that can damage their connection to their partner. So, what does an ISTP partner do? They need support and encouragement. What they don't need is their partner being upset at them and coming at this in an emotional way, because that creates more distance. They struggle with commitment and feel overwhelmed by the demands of the relationship. But with the right support and motivation, they can learn to prioritize the relationships and make time for their partner. And by expressing appreciation for their partner and the relationship they share, ISTPs can be motivated to work on their impulsive tendencies and build a stronger and more stable partnership. So in essence, what I'm saying here is that you leave the emotions behind and you talk about the issue, and that you gently give boundaries and reminders, and anyone who's in a relationship with the ISTP is going to either accept the fact that they're constantly giving reminders and those boundaries, or you're going to live in a constant state of frustration. Over time, they can learn, but it's counterintuitive. It does not come natural to these people, which brings us to challenge number 2. These people also, like their ESTP counterpart, they suffer from the Peter Pan syndrome, refusing to grow up, preferring to live in a world of adventure, freedom, and excitement. And these people are quite youthful. These are the, older folk that you see riding around on Harley Davidsons with their gray hair flowing out, and that experience of being out in bikes and hiking and being in nature, living in the moment and not worrying about the future responsibilities that come with adulthood. They don't want to be tied down or constrained by the expectations or obligations of their partner. So what that does is it sets their partner up to behave like the adult in the relationship, because hey, one person has to be. And so it can be quite challenging, especially if you have, say you have an ISTP with an ESTP partner, and both of them want to be spontaneous. One person will be pushed into that role of being the one who has to create some sense of stability and security and boundaries for the family. And so their need for autonomy, space, and to pursue their own passions and interests often seem to dominate in the relationship, having the partner feel at times like they're taking a back seat to their partner's desire and quest for knowledge. But these people, there's so much fun. There's so many adventures to be had with them, and it can be really exhilarating and fun and pleasurable. But it leads to these conflicts and misunderstandings when they prioritize their own needs over the needs of the relationship. When anybody is in an avoidant attachment style, they are not looking at the third person of the couple, which is the relationship, and they're not looking at investing into the relationship and making sure that the relationship is strong and working, and that their partner's needs are met and the needs of the relationship are met. They are more concerned with making sure that their agenda for autonomy and to do what they want to do when they do it is met. And these people will often have difficulty making commitments. And so they tend to look for partners that are more submissive and that will not take issue with the fact that they don't honor their commitments. So the tip on this one, anyone who has a partner with the Peter Pan syndrome, they cannot take it personally. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or concerned about the ISTP's impulsive behavior, and they can help the ISTP by reminding them to take a step back and consider the consequences. Don't think that just because they're a certain age that their brain has developed. They may have very little executive function, very little ability to manage their impulses. So it involves encouraging them to take time to reflect, practice reflecting before making a decision and discussing the plans together, and gently reminding them. It's like bringing them back to the third, bringing them back to the we of the relationship, and reminding them that you have a partnership, that it's up to the partner to hold the boundaries there. And ISTPs really benefit from this because they can undermine and sabotage themselves in their lives and in their careers because their partners have been too afraid to say anything. The third challenge of the ISTP is they can be quite rebellious and passive aggressive because they have not learned the language of negotiation or compromise. It's that they feel that any sort of conflict in the relationship about what we're doing and when it threatens their ability to be spontaneous and do things the way they want to. And so instead of talking about it, they'll refuse to make commitments or to honor them when they actually do make it. They don't like to be told what to do, and they resist any of their partner's attempts to get them to collaborate. And all of us, all human beings, we have to learn how to deal with our partners, our children's, our coworkers' resistance, and seeing it as normal and natural. Because when we ask someone to step out of their comfort zone, we can expect that they will feel resistant to it, just as we ourselves will feel resistant when somebody asks us to step out of our comfort zone where we're less comfortable. And ISTPs are less comfortable in that we position. They're more comfortable in the I position. They feel like, or they'll characterize it as their partner is trying to impose things on us, even though they couldn't be anything further from the truth. And they will resort to things like withdrawing and emotionally or sarcasm, procrastinating, or doing things wrong so their partner has to jump in and do it for them. Or they'll become distant and avoidant and will stop communicating overall. And this can be confusing and frustrating to their partner who is expecting them to show up as they're showing up as a person who is looking at collaborating in something that may not be what the partner, your ISTP partner, is doing. And so it's looking at it as that two-step process where, first of all, you get them to see that need for collaboration, and then you tell them, we're going to collaborate and make this decision together. And no, you can't just say yes to me and then do whatever you like. We are going to collaborate, and you're going to tell me what you want, and I'll tell you what I want, and then we will both figure out how to get both of our needs met in the relationship. Because ultimately, this passive aggressive behavior, it leads to a breakdown of trust and increasing conflict within the relationship. So, when all possible with the ISTP, and of course, in dealing with any partner to resolve conflict, don't get emotional. We have to go after what the issue is and not necessarily talk about what the issue is causing us to feel. Just because your partner doesn't show up on time for the commitment that they made, that does not mean that they don't respect you. It doesn't mean they don't love you. You can feel disrespected. You can feel hurt, deprioritized, devalued. You can feel all of those things, but it doesn't mean that they don't love you. So saying something like, I feel like you don't love me, that's not the issue. The issue is, we agreed you'd be on time. You are not on time. The fact that you're not on time leads to these consequences. So how do we ensure the next time around you show up on time and you problem solve and you move to action? They don't respond well to drama. So forget about waterworks. Just bring out the facts. These are introverted thinking function people. They won't relate to your emotions. So getting emotional only makes them close up shop. Just remember that. Next, offer them that hand, resolve the issue, work the plan. They can get lost in their own thoughts and ideas and not always be aware that they have run out of time. So even put reminders on their phone or on their iWatch, if Apple Watch, if they have one, so that you are sure that they're going to get their wake up call to honor their commitment. So that's it for our ISTP in relationships. These are wonderful people who are abundant in the world of mechanics, in the physical, the forestry, the outdoors, and they are experts at anything that they set their mind to, with that laser-like focus that all introverted thinking type people can have when they are interested in something. And if you're in a relationship with them and you want them to pay that sort of attention to you, it may happen from time to time, but remember, that isn't the world that they live in. Invite them out into that safe place and create the circumstances for them to come out and make you the center of your world, because you're not a problem that they have to fix or figure out. And so it doesn't come natural for them to prioritize relationships or prioritize themselves. So we've come to the end of the ISTP, and if you want to know more and you want to find out more, as I said earlier, check out the relationship report for the intellectual or the brain-based relationship style for the ISTP. All of our books, by the way, are on Amazon.com or Amazon.ca and are available. And they're also available on nowfixyourrelationship.com, including including our interpretation sessions, our video interpretation session for each one of the 16 types. So if you've missed a single one of our 16 episodes during the month, hop on over to nowfixyourrelationship.com or go to YouTube, where you can catch the videos on the repeat. And all of our other resources and our podcasts are available there as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this episode on the ISTP, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye for now.